check. Why? Why? Just tell me why. Tell me why. Ain't nothing but you know what I'm about to say. Mediocrity should never be accepted. 29-31 is mediocrity. But it's even worse than that when it comes to Sam Pittman, okay? So, lock in. It's going to be a fun video, but also a painful video because Arkansas fans, I'm not even one of you. I'm just telling you that this decision made no sense other than money, all right? So, this is why I think Hunter Yurachek decided to keep Arkansas head coach Sam Pittman around. It's because of money, right? $12 million buyout. You can use that money to spend in the NIL transfer portal class. That's what a lot of other teams have justified doing in keeping their unpopular head coaches around, right? But part of why I think Arkansas should have done it is because I think Arkansas would have been the only team in the SEC to get rid of their coach. You would have been the only SEC team, and everybody wants to get in one of the big two conferences now. You would have been the only SEC team with a vacancy open, and I think a lot of people saw what happened with Ole Miss and South Carolina and said, look, I could be at a middle-tier program in a 12-team playoff and maybe find my way in there, right? So I don't get that because you would have been one of the first in the market for a new coach, and there you go. That's why I think it made a lot of sense to move off of him now. And look, do I think there were some discussions? Sure. Right? And, there's a lot that we don't know, including this hip procedure that Sam Pittman's going through right now. But you guys are here for the football. Let me first start off by saying thank you to each and every one of you for trusting me to provide you Arkansas football content, more so in the film study realm. And I also want to thank our partners at Sequoia Dental. One of the best ways you could support me, just check out Sequoia Dental and what they're doing in Northwest Arkansas. It's a bunch of innovative stuff. So shout out to them for believing in me. Okay, added an extra person to the Sequoia Dental family as well. So really excited about all of that. Now, let's start with why I think it's worse than 29-31. That's the stat that's getting thrown around. That's Sam Pittman's current record. All right. The first is you are 7-17 in one-score games. Now, I'm a very statistical guy, right? I'm not the most analytical thinker out there, but what a lot of math people would say is one-possession games are random. And if a coach is 7-17 in one-possession games, there's going to be some positive regression going in Sam Pittman's favor. And I used to think that as well. But after watching some of the lack of adjustments and weird in-game decisions, I don't know if I trust him to eventually have positive regression in one-score games. Now, we have done a lot of film studies showing some of those decisions. You can go check them out for yourself. But, I just don't want to get too filmy specific here. But the second thing is, in the portal era, unless you're a college football playoff team, I like to judge teams based on how the season moves along, right? There's so many new pieces, and for Arkansas this season, you had a new OC, you had a new quarterback, you had all these new things. But you noticed, as the season moved on in 2024, Arkansas football kept getting worse and worse and worse. Yes, you had that big win versus Tennessee, 19-14, and you were down 14-3, and it was very valiant. And Malachi Singleton, who's in the portal now, led that game-winning drive. Taylor Green was great in that game. I give you all the credit in the world that you won that game. But after that bye week, the team fell apart. And a lot of it is due to bad coaching. So if you look just on the surface, 2-3 doesn't look to be too bad to close out a year. But one of those wins was versus Louisiana Tech, and you didn't play well. You did not play well. The fact that Louisiana Tech was terrible is the reason why you won that game. And then your other victory was against Mississippi State, the worst team in the Southeastern Conference. Yeah, you fought valiantly versus Texas, and then you had that Snow Bowl versus Missouri where neither team was really playing for anything. But you were blown out by Ole Miss without their best player, Trey Harris. And on top of that, the game total was 54 for both teams. Ole Miss scores 63. And I understand Sam Pittman is not the defensive coordinator. That falls on Travis Williams more than anyone. But you allow that to happen. You're the head coach. So 63 points. So that is normally the sign of when a team is being coached well or not coached well. Okay? I know I didn't say that too smoothly. I'm not doing any edits. I'm just releasing this, okay? But here's the problem with regression, is that this was the second consecutive year that this happened. So in 2023, what happened? Final 5 games of the season, you're rewarded with a 7-3 home loss to a backup quarterback in Mississippi State whose coach was fired. A 7-3 home loss to that type of team should get you canned. But then it got worse than that. You were run off the field by a mediocre Auburn team. And then you were run off the field by Missouri. And it was a lot uglier than what the scoreline indicated. Run off the field. Then you won that overtime game versus Florida where they missed a chip shot to win the game. And then, of course, you had the Florida International game. That was also ugly. So 2 consecutive seasons when the peak of this regime was in 2021. Y'all, I'm not even an Arkansas fan. I would tell you that this was a golden opportunity to move elsewhere. You could have gone to Sam and said, look, you're going through this very painful procedure. You couldn't even stand on the sideline for this last game, and I hope he recovers. But why? Why not just retire to your lake home in Lake Hamilton? So, look, I'll say the uncomfortable truth that, you know, a lot of other Arkansas media members don't want to be as blunt about. Some have been, and, you know, I back guys like John Neighbors and Woo Pig podcasts have taken a lot of heat in particular, and I think the Arkansas media does a great job overall. But this is not a good program under Sam Pittman right now. It's not a bad program. And I don't want people to the thing that always pisses me off when people discuss Arkansas is, well, he's not Chad Morris. Nobody is, because he was the worst coach in the history of the SEC, Sam Morris. I didn't even say his name correctly. That's a Freudian slip. That tells you everything you need to know. What are you doing, Arkansas? Like, literally, what are you doing? I get it. We can use the money for the buyouts and the new staff for the new portal roster. Really? You're losing so many good players this year. You're losing so many good players. And your high school recruiting class is 15th. You have 1 4-star high school recruit. And I understand the challenges of Arkansas high school football players not being that good. And I am a former Arkansas high school football player, and it pains me to say that there's just not enough good Division I Power 4 talent in the state. All right? It makes it hard. But even if you put together a great portal class, I don't see it. I really don't see it next year with Arkansas. But I do want to give you some positives. I don't want you to just look at me, oh, look, he's an LSU fan, Mr. Negative, Arkansas, whatever. I'm going to give you some positives. So first is you do return your Big Four. Okay, so continuity can be a good thing, right? You return your head coach, your OC, your DC, and your quarterback. Now, a lot of you have varying opinions of that, but that continuity is something that you can sell going into next year, and it might be a good thing, right? We've seen quite a few quarterbacks that have had the same Big Four continuity take that big leap forward. So that is a very good thing. The second thing is, and this is very anecdotal, maybe there's a guy like Andrew Hutchinson who's really good at these kind of breakdowns, but I truly do believe that Arkansas starting off their season at home in their first couple of weeks is huge. And one thing that is going to be really good for the future of Arkansas football is the A&M game no longer being played in Dallas. I'm not saying it was some massive, massive advantage for A&M. It was more so a disadvantage to Arkansas because it's not necessarily that you take away a potential home game from DWR, but you're already losing one, playing one at War Memorial. And that War Memorial game is normally played pretty early in the season on a not-so-up-to-date turf field. And all that traveling isn't good for a team, right? Some of the lower-tier programs do a really good job of scheduling games that aren't as difficult as some of the games that Arkansas schedules. I I don't know whose decision this was. I would have never scheduled Memphis, a home and home with Memphis. That is tough next year. But what I will say is next year, Arkansas, you are getting 3 of your first 5 games in DWR, all right, with a home and home with Notre Dame coming up, which I think is a good thing. But you could get 4 of your first 5, just depending on how that last date gets decided with the SEC schedule coming up. That's actually a really good thing for next season. So I do think that sets up a little bit more nicely for Arkansas. But I just don't. I just don't know. I don't get it. So once again, no edits. It's not going to be all kinds of fancy stuff. And what I need you guys to do is, for real, educate me if I'm wrong on any of this. All right. And once again, please come to our Monday night live streams. Now, I didn't do one. I had a few of you message me, why didn't I do one yesterday? I wanted to actually sleep on this. And then secondly, I did have college basketball games I had to do last night. I'm lucky to get to do college basketball play-by-play, and I had a pregame meeting that I had to go attend. And yeah, so that's why we didn't do a live stream. It wasn't anything more than just that, okay? It is Power Hour SEC. Boom! And tonight, we are doing taco soup. Let's go.